Starburns Audio.
Thank you for listening to the Starburns Audio Podcast Network. We have so many great comedy shows to add to your playlist. Just last week on Starburns Audio, on the Season 2 premiere of Humans Who Make Games, Adam Conover talks to comedian Ron Funches and Jean Goudon, creative director of the Assassin's Creed series. On Boogie Monster, Kyle Kinane and Dave Stone share a perfect recipe for the quarantined cook. This week on Profiles and Eccentricity, they cover the history of the Coruscant Unity cult, folks for whom a flat earth is ridiculous because they believe it's really a concave shell. Search Starburns Audio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any podcast platform for our full list of shows, featuring hosts like Joe Coy, Amanda Seales, Jessica Chobot, and Jackie Johnson. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Starburns Audio. Enjoy the show. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep laughing.
It's a good show.
Dan and Ren and Jay will share tales of folks so unaware they lack in grace and sometimes choose the life they choose will make the news. Breaking down each epic fail in Florida, there's half-price bail. I'm happy to say they couldn't make this up. So listen to our podcast jam with co-host Arm and Dan. Bender, don't be a jerk, cause when the music hits, the funny hits, and we are gonna take you down. Stick around. Make a sound, hunker down, it's Dumb People Town.
Hey, Townies, welcome to another episode of
Dumb People Town.
Population U.
Population Silverman. I was going to say Population Jew.
Population Jew. It's the Population Silverman show. Hi, Sarah Silverman.
Wait, this is called Dumb People Town?
Yes, you did Scarborough. Now, you did Scarborough Country in the past. And
That's what I thought this was.
This is Dumb People Town.
Dumb People
It's a
Town.
whole new
Totally
thing.
different.
It is.
And actually really close to home with all the stuff that you explore in your amazing Hulu show, which we'll get to later.
What is Dumb People Town about?
So listen, the world that we feel is getting dumber. Or dumber is getting louder, or dumb and smart are in a death match, and dumb has just dumb strength.
Even if Todd Glass disagrees with us.
Which
he does fervently disagree with us, we feel like
But
our
it's never
only
been-
way to battle it is through comedy. Our only way is to use humor to fight back the dumb
weaponize
tidal
humor.
wave. Yeah, let's weaponize humor.
So much it's like, it's okay to be dumb now. And I'd like to say, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
We have to call it, right?
Well, I mean, the beginnings of authoritarian governments start with demonizing intellectuals
Right.
and taking their power away and making the media the enemy
Yep.
and saying only get your news from my Twitter feed or whatever.
I don't know who you're referencing.
They don't always have Twitter. They didn't always have Twitter in the start of authoritarian governments.
Well, wouldn't it be sweet if they did?
But now they do.
Yes, you're right.
So we, as you know, there are just dumb things happening all the time, and our awesome fans send us great dumb stories, our dumb ears on the ground, and then Dan knows the stories. We don't know the stories. You don't know the stories, and we're just going to try and break them down and
trying to
understand
dumb behavior.
human behavior, all of us together.
While-
Can you handle that?
While joking around about it.
Exactly.
Do you want to do a story?
Let's
Yes,
do a
let's
story,
do a
Dan.
Okay. This was sent in by Justin Roth at Joth11, Joth.
Love them.
Great.
After he inadvertently trashed one of its rooms with packs of pepperoni and some unruly seagulls, the Empress Hotel has granted a Nova Scotia man a pardon and lifted a lifetime ban.
By the way, there is nothing more Nova Scotia than trashing your room with unruly seagulls.
That
That's
is
like
the most
straight Nova
Scotia
Scotia.
thing. But this is a tale of a man who ruined his hotel room, was banned for life by a hotel, and they've recently decided to let him back in. And the story of what he did to this hotel room on quote-unquote accident is so dumb.
I'm confused. He brought seagulls into the room?
I'll tell you. 17 years ago, Nick Burchill.
17 years ago, by the way.
Post
that is,
9/11,
It's a
so
post 9/11 world. So
Is it? No,
we know
17 years ago.
17 years ago is 2001.
Depends on
when.
what month.
Right. If it's 17 years ago now,
So maybe he was just
pre-9/11.
feeling good. I don't think he tries that in October of 2001. I don't think he tries
But
to
in
pull
July, he's like, What's
feeling.
going to happen to the world?
But also, this is Canada.
That's
yeah,
right.
True.
anything's possible.
This is basically Narnia.
They should. When you go through customs, it should be a closet.
It should be a wardrobe. You go through
baby.
we'll pop the back of this, and
Yeah.
then you just slide right through that,
17 years ago, Nick Burchill stayed at the Empress for a work-related conference. He was in the Canadian Naval Reserve, and his Navy buddies asked that he bring Brothers Pepperoni.
No, is
Well,
that a
I don't know what that
Canadian
I
thing?
thought they had said bring your Brothers Pepperoni,
Bring
but it's a type.
Type of Brothers pepperoni is a Canadian pepperoni.
Yes.
That like there are lots of Canadians who go to pizza places and they're like, "What
You
kind
guys
of
got Brothers?
what kind of pepperoni you got?
I don't want it if you don't got Brothers.
You better get that Brothers."
Because
eh?
this was the Navy we're talking about. This is a quote from Nick Burchill. Because this was the Navy we were talking about, I brought enough for a ship. Enough pepperoni for a ship.
That's a lot of.
I can't even eat. By the way, this is like a sign of me getting
Heartburn?
older. Yeah, I can't
knew
eat like 3 pepperonis. Is it
Really?
pepperoni? Like
Pepperoni.
what is
It's
the
just,
plural?
I don't think you just say pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
pepperon.
Would you like a pepperoni?
I literally can't eat 3. If I go 3, then I'm like, I gotta lay down. Something happens.
Oh,
in
like
here.
the slices on a pizza?
Yeah, it's like too
Really?
much burn. It like burns.
Oh,
my
I don't
heart.
want that life.
But
can't-
get ready for it down the line.
Pepperoni since I was 6 or 7.
Stop.
Are you a vegetarian?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're smart.
Well, do you remember the last meat you ate? When you were like, I'm good.
It was a Happy Meal.
Really? Mm-hmm. Nuggets? Burger.
burger, probably a burger, a cheeseburger.
Oh, because Happy Meals can
You
be.
could nugget it
oh,
up.
back in the day, it was only a cheeseburger or a hamburger, but
Okay.
it was a cheeseburger Happy Meal. Because I had figured out turkey is a turkey. We live next to a meat farm, and
That'll do it.
but it took me a while of a couple more years of Happy Meals before I was like, this is also an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And then-
if it was nuggets, we can't be sure.
We don't know that for sure.
Nuggets are, yeah, like
We
that is
cannot be
just-
sure what that is.
I think it's just like the meat. It's just like thousands of liquefied cows, and then they just
They get squirted onto the grill.
yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It's just all gross to me. I believe in the animal kingdom, but I
What's your
am
pizza
not a
order then?
carnivore.
Mushrooms. Straight cheese.
Any vegetables,
You don't
and
care.
I eat cheese.
Yeah.
I eat cheese and I eat eggs. So like if it comes out of their boobs or their vaginas, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
But if it
They
takes
gave it.
their life, I
Great.
won't eat
So
it.
those are words to live by.
Yeah.
If it comes out of their boobs,
Boobs or vaginas, I'll eat it.
all over
But I
them
remember
all.
my dad, we were at Kentucky Fried Chicken and everyone was shouting out their orders. And I was 7 or 8. And then it was my turn and I said, I'll just have biscuits. And then my dad, I remember he sat me down at a little table for 2 there and he's like, why don't we just admit that you're a vegetarian and figure out what you can eat?
Oh, that's awesome.
By the way, that's a great
knew
dad
it.
moment.
Yeah.
It's a great dad moment. For
7.
him to see that and
Let's lay it
to pick
out.
that out of your order and then just be like, okay, here we go.
Because
This
I
is
think
gonna be the
that's
rest of
how
the
it had been for a while. Like,
Right.
I just wasn't
a lot
eating
of
the meat.
biscuits.
I can't handle this anymore.
Well-
Let's sit down.
Nick Burchill's pepperoni pack suitcase was misplaced by the airline and arrived in Victoria a day late. Burchill felt the pepperoni was still edible, but thought he should
No.
keep it cool
Nope.
until he turned over the goods to his Navy brethren. His 4th floor room facing the inner harbor was large, but lacking a refrigerator.
So he opened.
So
the
he
window.
opened it up. He left it outside.
It was April, so 17 years ago. This is pre 9/11.
Wow.
It was April. The
It's a
air was
different
chilly.
era.
And an easy way to keep all of his food cool would just be to keep it next to an open window overlooking the harbor.
So
What can go wrong here?
so dumb. A suitcase full of pepperoni.
So
Suitcase full.
and he's
he
not
brought
being a
enough
dick.
pepperoni for an entire ship.
He's
And
not
it's-
being a dick.
Yeah,
He's
no, he's winning me over because honestly,
Yeah.
as dumb as this is, I do not think I would be like, what am I thinking? Seagulls are going to come.
That's right. Nothing could go wrong here.
I once.
I want it to be a family of like seagull. Like
I wonder how fast because seagulls in their brains are just like, who's bringing the suitcase of pepperoni?
You guys, there is literally a suitcase of pepperoni.
He goes back
Did you
and
say
tells the
suitcase
rest of them,
pepperoni?
they're like, I'm not doing it. You know what? You do this all the time. You're like, oh, there's going to be a ton of food. You're like, guys.
Dave, there's a suitcase of pepperoni.
I know what happened before. The window is open
Right.
and there's a suitcase. I was at Paradise Cove in north of Malibu.
I know it.
You know that little restaurant.
Yep.
The only place you can eat or like drink beer and wine on the beach.
Right. I know.
Somehow they've been like grandfathered in. And these people had left their stuff, their beach stuff. And the best thing, if anybody wants a pro tourist tip, go to Paradise Cove when tide is coming in, because people sit at the beach and are too dumb to realize that about 1 out of every 40 waves is going to come a lot farther than the
and
last
just
one.
destroy
Dude, I have
all their
sat there
stuff.
numerous times and watched people run for their lives with all their
Yes.
stuff. And these people have, I don't know where they went. Maybe
Babies.
the entire family got stuck in a riptide. I don't know.
no.
But they left all their stuff and bags of chips, and these seagulls were like coming down and eating it and making this huge mess.
Of course.
So every couple of minutes, I would go over there and like re-put their bags away, and I'm just waiting. You know when you're just like, I am going to unload on these people when they get here. They're like, this is bad for these animals. And their stuff just keeps getting hit by more and more water. And it's like a radio, like all this stuff. And I don't even care.
Yeah.
And I
Did they
watched
come
it.
back?
Never saw them come back. I eventually like dragged their stuff
What
up
if
because I was
they're
more
standing
concerned
off
for
to
the animals.
What if they're standing off to the side and saying, "Look at this idiot.
asshole looking at
he
my
keeps
stuff.
coming up
Screw
back to
them.
our
We
stuff."
put this stuff. We don't care about it. This dummy's looking at my
Look at
stuff.
this
Oh my
dumb
God, I
guy
was
here.
mad. I
All right,
was
so
so mad.
suitcase full of roni.
Okay. It was April. The air was chilly.
Suitcase full of pepperoni is like the album that Dan Aykroyd made, like after Belushi
That's
died.
what got
That
him.
was his.
And that's what got him into We Are the World. That album got him. A lot of people don't know. People are like, how's Aykroyd in there? You
Don't
heard-
don't release this album, but it's like, hey, it's like
Quincy
this
heard
back
it.
up to briefcase
Yeah.
full of blues.
But I'm just going to say this. If there was a We Are the World today, you can sing. And if they said, do you want to be in it?
Would you try?
Even though years later people would be like, why was she in it? You would
You'd do it, right?
You would definitely
I
do
think
it.
You
Sarah.
would think about it.
To sing with all of the current luminaries of music.
By the way, fun on the day, but that shit just
Stays forever.
stays forever.
Yeah, I don't know.
You do
I
it for
really
the
don't
bit.
know.
You would do it for the
bit, you
bit.
would
There's
get out of
not
doing that.
comedy in it or like a comedy
No, but was there
angle.
any comedy in what Aykroyd was doing?
No.
None.
He just believed in it.
You'd get easily 10 minutes out of it if you did it. That would
Oh,
give
you
you
get a story. You
Got
get
a
a
great
story.
But I'd get a great story for friends, but I'm not the kind of comic that does that from like showbiz experiences.
Right.
Oh, well, I would do it and have everybody wonder why the hell I was there.
Dan, if you were asked to be on We Are the World,
Which I obviously would be.
Yes.
Okay, so he leaves the pepperoni by the open window.
Opens the door.
He spread the packages of pepperoni on a table and along the windowsill.
this is okay.
Then?
That's more inviting.
Did you know?
I don't want to blame the victim.
Did you know a comedy team or know of a comedy team named Zach and Mac?
No.
These two
Enormous
like
black dudes.
400-pound black dudes. Kevin Kataoka tells the story of like going on the road the week after they were there. What they did in the comedy condo.
Oh, yeah.
They made their own
Comedy
bacon.
condo.
And
They fried up their own bacon.
but they
made
dried
so
it
much
out-
bacon.
so much bacon that they dried it out in the sheets on the bed.
They laid the bed
So
sheets out.
just the bed smelled like bacon grease. So to me, this feels like a very Zach and Mac, who they said were not
Sarah's
funny
face.
at all,
Sarah's face.
except for the way they came to the stage, where one of them would come to the stage first and grab. They're not brothers; they're just two enormous black men.
Well, don't act like all comedy teams are brothers.
They have to be
this
brothers.
this is only our experience.
That's all Randy and I
That's
know.
like they're
that's-
not even brothers.
Yeah, that's Randy's
mean,
slight
what-
against them. I should also tell you, they're not even brothers.
they don't
Okay,
share
so you're
what?
going to tell me that the Smothers Brothers aren't brothers too? Fine, whatever. So one guy comes to the stage and grabs those two giant, like, airplane orange things, and he goes to the thing and waves the other one to
That's
the
Like
funny.
it.
That was hilarious, and then their act didn't live up to that. But whatever. I mean,
Hey, you started strong.
they started.
It's funny when people have like a big opening thing, and then it
Mm-hmm.
just goes like there used to be a guy, I don't remember his name. I saw him once. He came through New York. You know, he looked scary. He's like a white guy with long, stringy, scary hair and a long beard. Before that was like the hipster,
Right.
and he wore like a dirty, to the floor trench coat, and then he held like a long handle axe. And then he goes on stage and he lets the audience take him in. And then the joke is just, how'd you like to have me as a next door neighbor? And then like the rest are just like rental car jokes.
Good
Most
It's
people are
just
like,
so
I don't know.
much
I mean, are
to
you?
have to travel with.
With that act for that joke, and that's it.
yeah.
All right. Well, Nick Burchill
Oh, right.
Spread the pepperoni on the bed.
He Zach
on the
and Macked
table,
it. He Zach
on
and
the
Macked it.
windowsill.
Yes, he
then
did.
went for a leisurely 4 or 5 hour walk. What?
This is a
Yeah,
guy.
you're checking out the area. You're in a new place.
He's happy.
4 or
he's not,
5 hours?
He's happy he's not around his family. I guess.
It's a work weekend.
A
He needs to blow off
surprise
steam.
awaited him when he returned. I remember walking down the long hall and opening the door to my room to find an entire flock of seagulls in my room.
The band?
They had the
Yeah,
band.
he was there.
So what did you? Did he?
That guy
Ran,
did
he
gain
ran
some
so
weight.
far away to try and get away from it.
I didn't have time to count, but there were so many in my room eating pepperoni for a long time. I'm going to ask you guys to guess how many seagulls were in his room.
All right, you can
this
go
is a
first.
one-room hotel room. You can go first, Tig, or third.
Tig
means
chose to
second,
go in
'cause
between the
Tig's
two
the
of
first
us.
person to ever want to go second.
To go in between me and Jason.
I'll take it.
You'll take it?
Okay,
All right.
Jay or Rand.
Jay,
How
go
many
first.
seagulls did he say were in his room when he opened that
He's
door?
gonna. I don't know that he's accurate because I don't trust him at all.
I mean, he probably was out
But
walking for a half hour and he said 4 or 5
I'll
hours.
say 40. I'll say he'll say.
Oh
there were
my
40.
God.
Yes.
So
yeah,
far
40.
away from where I was
Okay.
thinking.
Yeah, I was
All
gonna-
right, go
All right,
second,
you're up. You're
Sarah.
second. You're up.
I'll say 14.
Okay.
Oh, I think he's going to say there were 200 seagulls
Okay.
in my room.
All right. I'm going to tell you guys, one of you has guessed it exactly right. Now, we get to play our second game. Who's right?
Who's right?
Sarah, do you want to go first, second, or third on who do you think is right of the
Me,
three
you,
of
or
you?
Jay?
200,
I'll go
14,
second.
or 40.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
Jay.
I'm right. I think
Okay.
it's 40.
Okay.
I think I'm right.
Which you're not second.
I think Randy's right.
Okay. 200.
Yeah, because I'll tell you
I'm
why. Because when he said it,
Yeah.
you nodded at him.
Okay.
That was Dan's tell.
Is that his tell? I didn't even see it.
But maybe not, because I think that's crazy. I think I have a much more reasonable amount.
You
I
do,
think
you're,
but
but you're a much more
14
reasonable
would
person.
destroy a room. That is not that is very
14 is like a lot of
crazy.
seagulls. Yeah, that's an insane amount.
according to
You guys don't know how much a suitcase full of pepperoni.
Yeah.
right.
Isn't that a police album? All right.
No.
According to Nick Burchill, when he opened the door to his room
Our source for this whole thing.
and they'd been eating pepperoni for a long time. Dumb People Town listeners, get your answers in now.
Shout out your ham radio.
The amount of seagulls he saw in his room was 40. Jason Sklar.
Very, very
40
nice.
seagulls.
That's yeah.
Wow.
That is a good guess.
It
That's
was-
like me like pulling up
By
from
the way,
like a
still
deep
scary
NBA 3
is
and
all
and
get
like-
out.
Do
Like
you
live
go in that
animals.
room? You open that up and see it. Do you just shut it and be like, "This is I've got to get somebody else to deal
I
with
mean, I'll
this"?
tell you this. I'm not to take away from Jason,
Sure.
but 40 was clearly had to be a guesstimate. There's no way he's
he's
staying
wrong.
in there and going, wait, no, stay. Don't move.
Don't you
I'm
go.
counting. I'm on,
Guys, I
I'm
need
on
to tag
31.
you guys. If you don't let me tag
36.
you, I won't know.
No,
how
the
many.
truth is he said 40, but there probably were 14.
He said
like he
30
probably thought
to
that
40.
there were-
Thank you so much.
Someone
Yeah.
said, or he said there are 40 seagulls there, and the person at the front desk is like 14? No, 40.
40.
Like they couldn't.
Right. It was at this time that Nick Burchill discovered that spicy pepperoni does not agree with a seagull's digestive system.
Oh.
That's why I'm asking you guys, would you go into this room? The room was covered in guano. Nick Burchill's entry startled the birds. So
God.
they were calmly shitting and eating
Yes.
until he walked in.
What's guano?
Bird
shit?
Bird
Yeah.
poop.
They
I
quote
learned that
from
today,
Nick.
too.
They immediately started flying around and crashing into things as they desperately tried to leave the room through the small opening by which they had entered, he said.
They're just trying to get out of it. It's
I
not
know.
their fault.
Right. Less composed seagulls are attempting to leave through the other closed windows. The result was a tornado of seagull excrement, feathers, pepperoni chunks, and fairly large birds whipping around the room. Lamps
That was, by
tumbled
the way,
to
this
floor.
is the special at Papa John's. You got to ask for it.
Yo, that's extra. Lamps tumbled to the floor, and curtains were trashed. To Nick Burchill's credit, he waded through the flock and opened all the remaining windows so the gulls
This
could
guy's a hero.
All
escape.
right. So he's being
This
nice.
guy is the biggest
He's
hero.
not, he realizes this is on him.
it.
He
It's
did
completely
not
on
need
him.
to walk around for 4.5 hours
Yeah.
or leave food out
Yeah.
of a window.
yeah.
It's a big mistake, but it's an innocent mistake.
Yes.
No, he wasn't. Yeah, there was no malice in what he was
But
doing.
this is the type
But-
of thing we say. Sometimes things happen where nobody's to blame and nobody did anything wrong. But this is what happens in Dumb People Town.
Yeah, this was a dumb thing that he did wrong. He definitely did
Don't
something
ever leave your pepperoni. It's like it
out by the harbor.
Right.
didn't.
I mean, I've definitely done things equally as dumb.
Right.
Oh, yes. One tried. on
Like
the bird.
Donna Summer said it best. Someone left my
Well, believe it or
pepperoni
not,
out
this
by the
gets
harbor.
more dumb on his
God.
part.
Oh, God.
great.
One bird tried to re-enter the room and grab another piece of pepperoni, and in
course.
my agitated state, I apologized, but I took off one of my shoes and threw it at him. It
No.
did not hit the bird.
No.
Of course.
When the intruders were down to one remaining seagull, he chased it through the room as it held a big chunk of pepperoni.
It's my favorite scene in Rocky. My favorite scene in Rocky.
He's trying to
Come
get
on,
to
that's
seagulls.
not-
the one pepperoni.
Close.
All right.
Nick then grabbed a towel, captured the bird, and put it out the window, dropping the towel. Unbeknownst to Nick Burchell, the shoe and towel fell to the Empress front lawn amidst a large group of tourists who were walking towards the tea room. So these people are like taking a tour of this hotel, and there are birds and shit and pepperoni, 40 of them,
Towels
flying
and
at-
shoes
yes, flying
out
down.
at him.
By then, it was almost time to go to his dinner with his customers. He's been newly hired at this job. He's in town to meet with customers.
Terrible.
But Nick Burchell
Got the
only
best story. He's got
Great
the
story.
Great
It's
story.
a great story.
You know the power of having a good story for a dinner. It's like every meeting.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can walk in with a good opener,
Yep.
You got a story.
your show is
You
sold.
got a good meeting.
So it's almost time for dinner. But Nick Burchell only had one shoe.
Oh, God.
He went out and found it. It was damp from landing in the mud and a wet patch of soil. Back in his room, Burchell, Nick, tried to dry the shoe with a hairdryer. When his phone rang, he was startled and the hairdryer fell into a sink filled with water.
Oh,
This is like
Imagine his surroundings, and he has now dropped a hairdryer. This is his next quote. I don't know how much of the hotel's power I knocked out.
oh.
I love this guy so much.
His room is covered in shit. There's pepperoni feathers everywhere. The place, the
Sure,
room
this
is
isn't
sacked.
like a scene from Mr. Bean. Like it does feel like a movie.
He then tries to clean his shoe and knocks out power to the hotel by dropping a
love this
hairdryer.
guy.
Why did he have a sink full of water?
Yeah. Who has a sink full of, because that's what he's probably trying to clean the shoe.
Yeah, I guess.
Try
the
to clean,
water.
put the shoe in the water to get the mud off of it,
And then-
but didn't release the.
But then the phone rang and startled him.
Right.
But
So
like, who hears the phone over? Like,
oh,
when
it's a bathroom. It's a hotel bathroom phone.
Oh, okay, so
Is this
that's
him?
Who is that? Is that? Did you look him up?
It's someone
Named
named
Nick
Nicholas
Burchell?
J. Burchell.
Oh God,
This one says England.
maybe he moved back to the mother country.
Nick, how do you spell it?
Burch.
Hold on, I'm already wrong.
Find him, find him, find him,
RC.
Sarah.
Did you guys not look to
No,
think?
We don't know this stuff.
Nick Burchell. ELL?
Yes. ILL.
There's like
BURCH.
You are the worst, Dan.
ILL.
I'm also going to bring up a photo of.
Okay,
of him
here
for-
he is.
You got him?
Nova Scotia, Canada, enjoying life's adventures with family and friends.
That pretty much sums it all
Oh,
up.
this looks just like
kind of guy that
Yep.
would drop a hairdryer in the sink.
Look
Yeah.
at him.
Yes,
he's like not.
100%.
He's not fully in the picture, but he is the picture.
I mean, like we could have had him calling in, you guys.
This
But
is
he
a
would've
picture
dropped
in the article of him retelling the story to the front desk people 17 years later, and they think it's hilarious.
Of course, they think it's hilarious.
Right.
But like, how
It's
did
Nova Scotia.
But how do they? Okay, this is my question, and I ask this all the time.
He is now in
like
the
when they
dark.
say someone's been banned from somewhere, like they're going to ban someone from Fenway Park because
Sure.
he was an asshole. Like,
Well, they have his room reservation info and the company that.
right.
he
But what
worked
I'm
for.
saying, like, from a larger place, like you're banned from this place forever. Can't you just show up to like a
like if
stadium?
you get banned from Disneyland, like how would they?
How are they
really-
going to know?
I bet Disneyland has facial recognition.
What if he
cameras.
paid for his room with cash?
Right.
Like,
But his company paid
fake
for the room.
Canadian money. You know, like there's silly money
yeah,
that they
there's
have up
silly
there.
money.
Canadian money is fake.
Okay, so he's now.
Are you reading his tweets?
I am.
Anything juicy?
How is it?
Anything
Please don't
good?
make us hate him.
They've since had a $60 million restoration at the Empress Hotel.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
good.
Nice to know.
Yep.
The rooms have modern amenities and air conditioning to keep his pepperoni cool.
I feel I
But imagine him now, guys. He's standing in the dark in a hotel room covered in bird shit feathers.
And he's got to go to a
Effie-
meeting.
yes, and he
And
has
he's
to go to
knocked
his
out the power.
and his shoe is
He says, I don't know how much of the hotel's power I knocked out, but at that point I decided I needed help. He says he
that
called the
point.
front desk to fess up. I can still remember the look on the lady's face when she opened the door, he said. She had brought with her one small cleaning kit. And then opened that door. And
She was like, "Nope,
we're gonna need a bigger boat.
Nope, we're gonna need a bigger boat."
Yes.
But have you ever trashed a hotel room before? Never.
Absolutely not.
I
I
clean my
leave
own
it
hotel room.
immaculate. So do I. Any trash I left
Me
on a
too.
table or desk in
I
the
make my
trash.
bed.
I leave
make my
a
bed
tip.
too.
I leave a note.
You even know?
No.
What do you usually say?
I just say thank you so much, and I make it in bubble letters, and then leave the tip there.
That's
so nice.
Yeah,
You do love
can't
America.
No, I've never. Have you guys never? You went to a party once where they thought everybody was going to move out, so they trashed the house.
Oh yeah, we went
In
to a
Minnesota,
party
right?
in
We went to a
Minnesota.
party in Minnesota, and
They said that
hey, come to this house. We're
they're
gonna
tearing down the house.
tearing down the
tomorrow.
house tomorrow. We're like, so we can, and we show up at the house, and someone's like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" Takes a football and throws it out through from the inside through the front window.
And then someone like is just talking to someone. They just kick their
Kick
foot through the
foot
wall. It was
and we're
so
like,
fun.
"Whoa, what's happening?" They're like, "Oh, this house is gonna be gone." And then
The next
we
day.
found out the next day that like it was not going to be torn down.
That was a misinformation.
They were under
imagine?
the assumption that it was, but then
no
it
one
wasn't.
actually.
And then
fact
you
checked.
said, "Let's make a podcast."
Yeah.
Yes, we're like,
That's-
this is
that's how it's
dumb.
That's the natural
This is
progression.
what has to be covered.
Okay.
Yes.
So he left the dismayed cleaner and went to his dinner. I'm sure that was a lot of like, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I have to go."
Right.
When Burchell returned, his items had been moved to a smaller room, which is a little.
Yeah.
Eventually,
He had to get that in at the Empress
Yeah.
Hotel.
Eventually-
they gave me a smaller room.
his company received a letter banning him from the Empress. Years passed, and Burchell wrote a mea culpa letter to the hotel.
Nice.
Quote, "I have matured, and I admit responsibility for my actions. I come to you hat in hand to apologize for the damage I had indirectly
Should have said
come to
toque
cause.
in hand.
And
Canada.
Come to you, toque
Oh,
in hand.
yeah.
I come toque in hand.
and to ask you to reconsider my lifetime ban from the property. I hope you will see fit to either grant me a pardon or consider my years away from the Empress as time
Like a
served."
pardon is like what like people give.
Falsely
But
accused.
this is
Nelson
Canada.
Mandela
This
got
weighed
a
on
pardon.
his heart for years.
Again.
Tracy Drake.
Again, Nelson Mandela got a pardon.
Yes.
Did he get a
eventually.
pardon at the
But
end?
I think
not-
so.
Yeah.
Pardon, he became president.
I know
Yeah.
they let him out of jail first. Yes, they.
He was unlawfully. He was.
He was-
The great
Right.
Chris Rock bit. And then he couldn't.
And
make
then he got
marriage work.
divorced.
And they got
They
divorced.
couldn't make a marriage work after being.
Tracy Drake, the Empress Director of Public Relations, said, "As wild as it sounds, the story is true." Drake, who heard the news Sunday, initially thought it was an April Fool's joke, but long-term staff confirmed the tale. She said, "It's one of those things where you can't make this stuff up." Burchell visited Victoria and the Empress Hotel over Easter weekend.
By the way, I hate when people say that because you could totally make that story up.
You could.
Like we could sit around
You can
and
make any story up.
any story
Yep.
can be made up.
Something you
can
can't
make-
make. Yeah, you
anything up.
can.
You totally
Everybody
can.
can.
It just so
I went and
happens
saw A
that this
Quiet
is
Place. They made it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story.
Great story.
Made the whole
Could have
thing
been
up.
real.
Came right out of
Made
his
it all-
bean.
Made it all up.
Made it up.
Gone Girl. Great story. Well, I don't
Made
know
it
if
up.
it's
I don't
such
know
a
if it's
great
a great
story.
story.
I liked
Made it up.
Made it up.
Ryan Reardon, the hotel's director of rooms, told him he is once again welcome as a guest.
Oh, that's good.
We'll get out of here on this. Nick Burchell quipped, "I bet it was the pound of Brothers pepperoni that I gave them as a peace offering that did the trick." So
Do you think he
came
came back
in
with-
a prop?
Open on the harbor.
Yes.
Very.
I mean, it gives the hotel a legend.
Yeah,
totally.
for sure.
Totally.
But then does that become the room that they can't really identify which room it was because no one's going to want to stay
$60
in that
million
room?
reno, bro.
Everyone's gonna want to stay in it.
Yeah.
Stay in the old
bird shit
pepperoni
room?
room.
The
bird-
pepperoni
This room
and
was
bird
once
shit room?
covered in shit and
and
meat.
pepperoni.
What's his name? What's his last name?
Nick Burchell.
Nick
Bird shit?
Yes.
I think people. Why wouldn't they call him that?
Nick Birch.
Nick Burchett. Would
At-
he
at
imagine
Sklar
his
Brothers.
day, though,
At
when
Sklar
he-
Brothers.
And we're done with this story, but you imagine this day when he dropped that shoe into that water and all the power went out.
Or you mean the
the
hair dryer?
Or the hair
Yeah,
dryer.
yeah,
It drops the hair dryer in the water.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's
This
a
is-
question: why do you fill the sink with water?
That's what
That's
we
what
said.
I was saying.
Because I think he was cleaning his shoe. Remember, he
But
said
how
he had
much
mud
water
on-
do you need? You're going to dip your patent leather shoe, whatever it is, into
He was blow drying it to dry it from being wet.
I know, but I think he had probably got the mud off. Was like, here, let me create like a little bowl or basin that I may clean this out of.
Oh, is that
a
what
wash basin? A wash
I have no
basin.
idea. That's story one.
All right, story
guys.
one, down in the
so-
boat. We have Sarah Silverman here on Dumb People Town. When we come back after this break, we're going to talk about her awesome show, and I want to talk about her amazing involvement in the Gary Shandling documentary, which was incredible. All right, more Dumb People Town right after this.
Working remotely can be a challenge, especially for teams that are new to it. How do you deal with your work environment being the same as home while staying connected and productive? And then there's your newest coworker, the cat. Well, your friends at Trello have been powering remote teams globally for almost a decade. At a time when teams must come together more than ever to solve big challenges, Trello's here to help. Trello, part of Atlassian's collaborative suite, is an app with an easy-to-understand visual format, plus tons of features that make working with your team functional and just plain fun. Trello keeps everyone organized and on the same page, helping teams communicate, focus, and connect. Teams of all shapes and sizes at companies like Google, Fender, Costco, and likely your favorite neighborhood coffee shop all use Trello to collaborate and get work done. Try Trello for free and learn more at Trello.com. That's Trello.com. Trello.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to Dumb People Town. We have Sarah Silverman on the show. Let's start with the Hulu show because it's fantastic.
I love it so much. Can I tell you why I love it so much?
Yes.
I know you love America, but I love it so much because I feel like not that you didn't before in your stand-up, and I've always loved your stand-up. You know how much we love your stand-up.
Yes.
Just sitting backstage and writing jokes.
You guys gave me an epic tag, obviously.
It is one of our as tag writers
We love to tag jokes. I love it more than anything. It's just so fun to sit around with your friends and be like, hey.
And then when someone uses it, it's the best feeling in the world.
It feels like you wrote the joke. You do it for people all the time too. It's like you feel like you wrote the joke.
It's so awesome. It's
amazing.
It's what's great about comedians and friends.
period.
And friendship.
But what I love about, and I've always loved your comedy, but I feel like in the last couple of years, certainly with this show, you have made this movement towards truth in what you're saying and doing, certainly in the monologues in the show.
Yeah.
Those things are I feel like if in my brain, you're like, okay, what's the true thing that we want to kind of talk about here? And then we'll write jokes kind of around this. What's the true strand? Am I right?
Yeah.
Is that how you do it? You're like, okay, we're going to talk about kids and then we're going to talk about,
Well, it's always just stuff that I come in ranting about or talking about, or I have a little nugget of something, or sometimes I call it stone soup, which is you come in with this idea or a line or a something that you just want to build everything around, and then ultimately you end up ditching that initial line.
Right.
It doesn't
of course.
fit
No, but
anymore.
it follows a great path. And I also think you're also not afraid at all to go deep into the truth of what you're talking about now on this show. It's so good.
Because you're we'll be funny. There'll definitely be the funny.
It'll be
well,
funny.
yeah, I'm confident it'll be funny, but also right before we started, I had this idea for a show. I wanted to do this show, and then at the last minute, I had this realization that if it isn't super dumb and silly, number one first, then it will be really obnoxious. And I think people watching it will just be like, fuck you, So I just thought anything heady, anything that I'm trying to say has to be served in a big bready sandwich of aggressively silly and dumb.
Let's talk about the one bit about the kids show, having kids who are in the school system right now. I often say to my kids, they'll be freaking out about dumb shit math homework that they have to do. And I'm like, I can tell you as an adult, you will not need to know this. Math comes in your life, and when you're, totaling up a bill or you're trying to divide up stuff, and it comes in certain ways. But unless you're an engineer, you're not going to need it. And I know my kids, and I know what they're going to probably go into, and I'm like, you're not going to need this. It's dumb. So that was the premise of hey, schools teach our kids a bunch of dumb things.
Oh,
so
when
you're
I did the high
and
school.
you're I'm going to go there. That's such a good premise. And then, of course, you were just absolutely ridiculous and silly. But I kept on thinking about that through the entire piece, where I was like, yeah, schools teach kids a bunch of dumb stuff that they don't need, and the kids stress about it and this and that. But you're like, yeah, all the things you were trying to get them to do was hilarious. And I imagine those were just regular kids. You walked in there and you're like, we're just going to shoot for 2 hours, and I'm just going to be silly and improvise all this stuff with you.
Yeah.
So good.
It was hard because that was a little character-y, the being the teacher, but the truth was I was just in awe of these kids, and most
They were
of the
pretty
day
good
I was
kids.
just really talking with them. And
Yeah, they seem like the best kids ever. When the thing about
The
throwing
tampons.
I mean, as a father of daughters, I was like,
it's the best.
goes in the bathroom. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I'm not giving it away, but you take a tampon and just each kid takes it and throws it against the wall. Each girl takes it and throws it against the wall and says something very truthful,
Right.
but very funny.
Yeah. Like some of them were real and some of them we made up.
Yeah,
Right? Clearly, and it's very clear.
Clear what was and what wasn't. But some of them, like, you're laughing out loud, and some of them you want to cry because it is that, like, so great to see a girl just do that, especially that age.
Yeah.
Fucking great
Awesome.
show. I love it. I want everyone to
Are you gonna
watch
do more?
it.
Maybe.
Yeah, we're doing 10 more.
Great.
Yeah, it's very
Hooray.
exciting. Oh, sorry, did I just kick you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's awesome.
It's hard because to me, it's so clear. Like, we love making the show, and Hulu really just let us make this show. But now, I mean, I think they wish the guests were famous celebrities, even though that was never what I pitched, and it's
No, I
never
love
what
that you
it's gonna
talked to
be.
the- yeah.
And they also have been pushing to have the monologues be of the news of this day, and I try to tell them, like,
It's not evergreen that way.
one, it's not evergreen, and this is how I pitch the show, that the monologues are about the symptoms of how we are at today.
It's
Not the
relevant
examples.
because this is where we are in this moment
And it
right
says,
now.
although 10 we made, the beginning and over the summer are just as relevant now,
Today.
if not more.
Absolutely.
We are going to add like a 2-minute like Spitfire today's news.
Great.
But, I tell them, like, there's so many shows to go to for that, that are fantastic. And this is
John
what I
Oliver,
can
Bill
add
Maher,
is different.
Go for it.
Right. This is different. This is a different
Yeah.
approach.
So I'm
It's
just
so
hoping
you,
they'll
too, which I love.
stick by me. But, we were hoping to make more than 10. It's hard to catch on with 10 episodes in a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I know, but it's a great show. What I love is that you also are very inquisitive, like we are too. You are very inquisitive, like, why is this the way this is? It's so Jewish, isn't it? So Jewish to be like, why is this the way this is?
Yeah.
How did we get to this point?
Yeah, like the centerpiece of the Passover Seder is a kid asking 4 questions.
yeah.
And that is the essential part of, that's what comedy is. That's why a lot of Jews, I think, go into comedy, because you're constantly in this moment.
Dan,
where-
you can understand
Dan
that.
gets
100%.
this.
How many times do you think Manishtana Laila is that?
All the time.
All the time.
But
Why is
essentially,
this-
that's the beginning of almost every comedy, any observational comedy joke. You ever notice we do this? Why do we do this? I mean, that's what it is. And so,
Why is this happening?
or
too?
why does this? Or why can't we do that? Or why do I do this? And then that.
So we
becomes
just
the next-
finished this project that's out now.
And then we will get to it.
And then we'll get to a story about basically whenever we go around and do stand up in a town, we try and write like 10 minutes of comedy about that town and what we're experiencing in that town.
And then people appreciate that so,
So much.
If you dig in and get it
especially
right,
if you get below the surface
I mean,
onto it. Like,
yeah, that's the extra mile, because even if right before you go out on stage, you go like, what's the big diner here? You throw that out. It's like, they can't even believe
So
it.
imagine doing 10 minutes of that at the top.
so it
That's
forces
amazing.
you to get out, and we're like, let's document that. So it's on Audible right now. It's called Sklars and Stripes, and it is basically, so we go around, each chapter is a city, and the crazy thing was the first chapter that we did was the weekend after the election in San Diego. So we're raw. San Diego is just like this fucking mess because you've got Republicans and
Mexicans who are
and
worried.
liberal people who are chill people, and like everybody's just worried. And then what happened was the next 13 months, we went to 10 cities. In the year where like our nation got ripped in half, we have to go to Tulsa because we're booked there. We have to go to Kansas City. We have to go to St. Louis. We have to go to Houston. These aren't like red states that we're going to.
They are red states.
Oh, these
They're-
aren't blue states. I'm saying they're
Right.
like a bunch of different. And
Yeah.
I feel like in our brains, we're like, that's this. You have to love America. You have to love this country to want to walk into those waters and be like, let's all laugh together about this. I feel like that's very much in the spirit
and
of
to
the show.
ask them to love you.
That's
to
right.
ask them to love us and to ask a room full of people who disagree, maybe at their core, about X, Y, and Z, to laugh at.
Because if we all laugh at one thing, if we get a whole room of people laughing, you're like, all right, that's a start. We can all laugh at that.
I'm going to say something really, first of all, generalized. So take it with a grain of salt. And also, that will probably be, might be controversial. But I actually find, in terms of doing stand up around the country, that in general, Republicans are able to laugh at themselves more than liberals are.
So yeah, so when we were in
It's
Portland,
really odd.
so when we were in Portland and in San Francisco, and in Madison and in Bloomington, we literally, some of the best targets we had were like the uber super liberal nature of things, and how people were like those. we thought that was funny, but there were moments where we felt like they seized up a little bit.
Because it's very interesting. It's like, you know how Jews make jokes about Jews.
Yeah,
Right.
Incessantly, all day, every day, and we love it. But like, if you talk as a Jew and say Israel is fucked up and there shouldn't be an occupation, or what they did, they killed that, Palestinian and he just had a tire, blah, 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 blah. That's when, my sister and her whole family lives in Jerusalem, and it's like, it makes them so, it's not that they don't agree, but it makes them terrified because it takes so little for the world to hate Jews.
Right.
They're like, you can't be the ones.
But you can't ignore it in hopes that people won't hate Jews. You have to face it.
And I think that's a
I
position
believe.
it's a position of strength if you can be like, hey, we're strong enough to
Right.
poke fun at
And so
this.
similar to that, where liberals right now feel like, oh my God, what's happening in this country? We're losing our democracy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a liberal as well.
Right.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But until we can not, Republicans, Trump voters, all that aside, look at ourselves and within ourselves, then really no change can happen. And you can't
this
go, well,
is-
they're not looking inward. Well, don't worry about them right now.
Right. You can
You know,
handle
when-
you.
This is
that
what you were saying at
election
the
night-
Democratic National Convention on stage a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's people are still so.
I know.
I mean, the division within the left.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think people are having a hard time seeing is just what, quote unquote, they want and need.
Sure.
Is just so out of control. They're just that you must agree with everything I feel down the line exactly, or you are part of the problem or you're complicit. And there are ways in which I'm sure I'll be hypocritical after saying what I'm saying. But, on election day and leading up to the election, what were we all like, whoa, the Republican Party is fucked up. Like, they're having an identity crisis. They've got to figure out who they are. And then the election happened, and no one realized, we're looking in a mirror.
Right.
And the Democratic Party's got to really look inward and see that they are just as complicit in Trump being president as the right. I mean, look, he lost the popular vote and blah, 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 and all those things, and we all agree on all that stuff. But also, the Democratic Party is supposed to be the party of the working class and the party of, the underdog or whatever, and they haven't been for a long time, even during Obama's administrations. And obviously, I love him, but he did not.
Didn't do enough to.
He didn't look after.
By the way, and it's okay.
What the detritus he knew would be left behind when
it's okay to
during
criticize that,
globalization.
too. It's
of
okay to
course, and
criticize
he
that.
would be the first one to say that.
I know.
It's something that has to be always kept in check. That's what makes our democracy great.
I agree. All right, let's make fun of some dumb people.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I
right.
agree.
I felt my mouth moving, but I don't know what I said.
You said the right thing.
So let's talk about some pepperoni shit.
Here we go. This was sent in by Andy Russell at the Russell 4.
Oh, he's good.
I love it.
RUSSELL.
Better than the Russell 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
The number 4. Panama City Beach. When Zoo World
Spring
operation manager Jess Kiefer, who you're going to learn is a girl who is not fucking around,
Okay, good.
spotted an unknown man wandering around the grounds before the zoo opened on Tuesday.
That's got to be the scariest thing ever. You're a woman. You're working at the zoo, and an unidentified person, someone you have never seen
Zoo is
before.
not opened yet.
Zoo's
Zoo is not open, and someone who's there who should not be there.
Just
that's
walking
when you,
around.
Okay, that's
when
when
I'm
you
like,
let a
if he
bear,
falls,
you let a
I'd be
bear
scared.
loose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like,
or
oh,
you're like, if he falls in the panda bear thing and they
let
maul
an orangutan loose and
I
be
would
like,
be
I don't know who
like,
opened that
do
up.
I go call someone else and secretly follow this guy?
Dan, you would follow the guy.
Well, yeah, probably.
I would
But
run in the
still, man,
opposite
Even I
direction.
alone would be like, do I want to deal with this right
No, a
now?
guy who is in the zoo before the hour, like he's been thinking about that
mean,
or drinking all night.
You are in a location with lions and bears,
And you don't know,
and
like-
the human man is the scariest threat.
Right?
Thank you.
Her first thought was about the safety of the animals.
Yeah,
That's
She
right.
didn't know how long he'd been on the property.
He could be a dentist from
My
Minnesota,
first thought
like wanting to
would
kill.
not have been the safety of the animals.
What would be your first thought?
her
The
own
safety
safety
of yourself.
My, yeah.
He hasn't
Well, I'll
seen
tell
her
you what
yet.
I do.
Sure.
Sorry.
What are you gonna do?
My ass. I reach and get my handy this.
Oh, your
Mace,
mace.
pepper spray.
Mace pepper spray. Always keep it
and
close.
bring it.
I've
And you
got my
bring it.
mace, and it's always in my backpack. And when I feel a
Go
little
for it.
nervous, I
Put
just have it in my hand.
Finger on the trigger. Finger on the trigger.
Well,
All
she
right.
didn't know how long the guy had been on the property, she recalled. She didn't know what he'd brought with him or if he had possibly gotten to an animal. One thing she did know, however, was that he wasn't going to get away.
I love.
Yes.
Here we
Jesus.
go.
I told you.
She's out for
Quote,
it.
I always wondered, if I found someone who had broken in, what would I do with my fight or flight? Whether I would fight or fly away, said Jess Kiefer.
I don't think she. Can
don't think
fly.
she's
I mean, I don't
capable
wanna
of
fly
flying
with-
one.
I don't want to pop a hole in her.
Who lives on the Zoo World property. She's living
She lives on the
on Zoo World property.
She's like a modern day Jane Goodall.
Wow.
Yes.
She's Jane,
Jane
Badall.
Badall. She's
Jesus
like ready to
Christ.
get.
Okay,
At
you
Sklar
two.
Brothers.
You
Directly to
shared
at Sklar Brothers.
an egg.
Boo.
Quote,
I love it. It's
I always
amazing.
thought I would fly, but I saw him and I just went after him and grabbed him.
I love this chick.
She's
Oh
amazing.
my
Hero.
god, she's
Hero.
amazing.
Right.
Hero.
Right. A highly trained alligator handler. This is according to Zoo World director.
Oh, so she's
Kate
not.
Hogan.
She is.
She's got experience. She
She's
knows
like,
what she's
dealt
She ain't
doing.
fucking around.
Do you have a giant mouth with like 87 teeth in it? No.
Right. No.
I can
your
take you.
ass.
Right. A highly trained alligator handler,
She rolled him. She
according
rolled
to
him.
Zoo World director Kate Hogan, Jess Kiefer took the man, later identified as Jonah Abraham, down.
So
How biblical
Jewish.
is that? Sarah just reached for her phone.
Sarah is the first guest ever
To
in
start
Dumb People
Googling
Town
subjects.
who was like,
Get
I
in
need
there.
to know.
Get in there.
Because Jonah Abraham sounds like someone who is
Now,
in
Sarah, I
your
will tell you before you
sister's
find
congregation.
him, we were going to play Guess the Age. We were going to play Guess the Age with him, so you're going to get a head start.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, don't look
But
at
you
him.
want to look at him as soon as we guess the age.
Yeah.
Look him up.
Yeah,
the way,
because,
Jonah
I mean,
Abraham-
this could be 20, it could be 80.
This could be Jonah. I feel like it could be Jonah Hill's like real name that we didn't know. Jonah Abraham.
Jonah Abraham
Yeah.
had many sons.
No, Feldstein,
I
because
know.
his sister's
Three people heard
Beanie
that.
Feldstein.
Oh, yeah?
I think.
Later identified as Jonah Abraham, she took him down to the ground and
Yes.
put him in a quote alligator hold.
What is that?
Putting all her weight on his neck and back to keep his head down and squeezing him with her legs to keep him from squirming away. So he
dude,
was like
this is-
walking. She rolls up behind, takes his ass down. to the
Flies,
ground,
takes him to the ground.
legs around.
Oh, my God.
Head, hands on the back of the
God
neck. and the
bless
head.
this
You're-
lady.
You're immobilized.
There is something sexy about what just happened.
I know,
There's something
and that's how
badass
your
about
father and I met.
What if that's the story 20 years from
How
now?
I Met Your
God,
Criminal
that's so
Father.
romantic.
It's so
romantic.
romantic
Because he's just on the premises. Maybe he wandered.
to find her.
Oh, scary.
He didn't know it, but he found her.
Okay,
Here,
now
this
are
is
we
where she
guessing?
gets to
Okay.
another level of
Okay.
badass.
I love it.
While Jess had Jonah on the ground, she took out her phone and called 911, turning on the speaker and setting it on the ground so she could talk to dispatchers while handling him.
Hands free, bitches.
Yeah.
Somehow
Hands
holds
free.
it on, phone out, speaker 911, then goes, and he never gets away.
He never
Beautiful.
gets away.
They tell
I mean,
you
if you
not
can
to.
handle
Oh
an
my
alligator.
god,
She is-
I need to see what she looks like too.
Or
I
either.
love her.
Okay, I can't wait to see.
Okay.
Okay, so are we gonna guess his age? No, there's more.
Yeah, there's more.
There's got to be more.
There has to be.
She
Dumb
said
people town.
she had to tell Abraham to be quiet a few times because he was yelling so loudly the dispatchers couldn't hear her. Imagine that conversation.
Kicking his ass.
I'm going to
and-
tell you again. Shut your
the fuck-
goddamn mouth.
Shut
Yeah.
up.
I am
gotta
talking
fucking-
to a dispatcher right now.
yeah.
About what? About you, asshole. You need to shut up.
I love it.
When he heard deputies were on their way, Jonah Abraham tried to bolt away from her. Of
course,
So
don't do
Jess
that.
Kiefer switched up that grip, putting him in an MMA-style chokehold.
That's right.
According to police reports, and
Oh
keeping him
my
on the
God.
ground until deputies arrived.
Oh,
Dude, that is.
what's the small talk when that happens?
Yeah, it is like, where are you
waiting
from?
That's what I was going to say.
Where you from?
To me, it's a lot of her saying, it's a lot of her saying, "Are you done? Are you done? Like,
Stop moving.
Are you done?
Stop moving.
Are you done now?
Are you done? Nope.
Because you're not going anywhere."
I wonder if she talks to the alligators like that.
Then her next quote from Jess Kiefer remarked, "I was a big wrestling fan when I was younger. It all
Just
comes
a
back."
fan.
Yep.
Just a fan.
Just a fan.
Not a big wrestler.
Okay, how psyched is
But
she
she's
about
handling gators on the reg.
how psyched is she about the Andre the Giant documentary on HBO? I mean, she's
Probably huge.
she's probably like having a party at the zoo
Where
for
her
lives.
friends.
Right.
Now,
Her and a
speaking
couple
of
penguins.
hotel rooms from their last story and Andre the Giant wrestling from this story, let's
Yes.
pull it together. I always heard that he had to shit in bathtubs because toilets
heard
were
that.
too small for
Yeah,
I
him.
believe that too.
I heard that
100% believe it.
too. I also heard that he had to drink upwards of like
Oh, yeah.
80 to 100 beers to get drunk. He would drink like a barrel of beer.
Yeah,
He would drink a case of beer before wrestling.
No.
Yeah. He would drink beers.
he was drunk a lot.
yeah.
Well,
Wow, I mean, it seems like why drink beer then? Why not drink
Water to
malt?
hydrate.
Whiskey. Yeah, like a
Crevassier.
Katie Hogan arrived at the zoo. That's
Katie
the-
Hogan is Hulk Hogan's daughter. Of course, right? Okay.
Yep. She arrived at the zoo. That's the director of Zoo World. She arrived at the zoo about 5 minutes after the deputies who were waiting outside to tell her. So the cops are waiting outside to tell Katie Hogan that Jess Kiefer had subdued the suspect all by herself.
She's amazing.
So the cops are like, "You got this? We're
Yeah.
going to wait till your boss comes and we're going to tell
Keep
her."
holding
okay."
him. We
Keep
want
the
her to
whole-
see it. Keep holding him. We want to show people.
this is
Is
going
that
to be.
really? Is that what it was?
They were waiting outside
Essentially.
to tell the director what her employee had
Oh
done.
my god.
That's like,
By the way,
she
this
get
is
a
an
raise?
employee. I feel like people don't care enough about their jobs. That's what
She
this
cares
tells
about
me.
the animals.
She
Yes.
cares so much. She's got a lot of passion.
When I arrived, I heard a male yelling, "Please let me go. I'm sorry." The responding deputy wrote in the report. So they pull up, they get through the gate. They don't know where they're going, but they just hear a guy yelling,
Please let me go. I'm sorry. Well, look,
At
that's a
that point,
start.
you think like an orangutan's got her. Got
Right.
him. This is like
Jess said-
any which way but here.
Jess said, quote, "The deputies were like, I didn't even have to help. Even the deputies were impressed."
Of course.
According to Bay County Sheriff's reports, Jonah Abraham, who's from Eau Claire, Wisconsin,
Eau Claire.
I know.
Eau Claire.
Eau Claire, Wisconsin, scaled the Zoo World fence at about 7 a.m. and broke into an apartment on the property. How many people are living in this zoo?
This is like,
Dude,
How
I gotta,
many?
I gotta
So-
go after those zoo employees. That's where the real money is.
yeah.
Yeah, where an employee usually stays. He stole 2 bottles of alcohol. In speaking with deputies, Jonah Abraham reportedly said he had been looking for a vape his friend had dropped during their visit. I'm just here looking for a vape, man. I'm just a vape bro
man.
trying to
Hey,
get my
man.
vape back.
This vape
Said
culture.
I'd swing by around 7 a.m.
Yep. It's my fault you guys aren't open. Sun's up, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Half these
Animals
animals
are
are awake. Half these animals are awake.
Deputies noted a very strong odor of alcohol coming from Abraham. This to me is he's visiting Florida. They drink all night. His
yeah.
friend would not shut up about the vape.
Vape pen.
Still drunk, having not gone to bed. He's like,
You want me to go get the
fucking
vape?
right now?
I'll get it.
You want me to go get- What's the worst that's gonna happen to me? I'm a badass.
And then he got
Taken down.
taken down.
Katie Hogan said the incident is the first of its kind at Zoo World. All of the dangerous animals were put into their, quote, bedrooms, which makes me sad, at night, she said, and are kept behind at least 3 layers of security so no one can get to them or let them out. The property is also fully encased in a 10-foot security fence, but there's only, this should be a T-shirt, because this is what Katie Hogan says, quote, "There's only so much you can do to fight stupidity."
Yeah,
That's it.
that's only so much
There's
you can
That
do.
is our show, Todd Glass.
I know.
Do you hear me?
I'm going to ask you guys, how old is Jonah Abraham?
Oh, man.
But now, you are a guest. First, Tig, or third? Where do you want to go?
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
You have like very clear ideas about
I've been
this.
thinking a lot about this.
Let's add it all in. Scaling a fence, looking for
I think
a vape.
he's older than he should be, but I'm gonna say he's let's make him Jesus age 33.
Okay.
33, with
All
the
right.
age when Jesus died.
Jason
Jay.
or Randy?
I think he's 29.
29
I think
from
his
Jason's
Saturn
squad.
is returning.
Yeah, I think he's
That's
20.
what
I think he's 25.
25.
Yeah. This is like a guy who
This guy's in his 30s, I think.
I think
He'll
he's
sell it.
25. I think he's old enough to rent a car but shouldn't.
Right, but doesn't have a
Uh-huh.
license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do we get to guess how old she is?
They never say.
Okay.
And no pictures of her.
I can pull one up, yeah.
Pull one
we're
up.
not on Wi-Fi here. Did we ever tell people we're not even in studio? We never
Oh, yeah,
even...
by the way,
We're at Sarah's house, so that if this sounds slightly different, it's 'cause
I'm a
we're-
shut-in. If I'm on a podcast, it was done at my apartment.
Really? I like that style. You don't have to go anywhere. They bring the show to you. Okay, this is pulling up. All right, here we go.
It's only a little bit sad.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to.
No, we wanted to make it happy.
Okay. Here's her. So we'll have that ready. Okay. What are these?
I said
Jason?
29. Randy said 25, and Sarah said 23.
I said 33.
Jonah Abraham, visiting from Eau Claire, Wisconsin,
Down to Florida.
is, get your answers in, townies,
She's so confident.
19 years old.
That makes more sense.
My God.
Feel free to look them up while I show you guys. This is Jess, badass in waiting.
Oh my God. I love her so much.
Oh my God, she's awesome.
There's like a
Look at her face.
quiet.
Yes, she's
there's
like, "I got
there's a
this."
stillness to her.
Yeah,
She's fine.
She's got it.
It's like if you ever
a grown woman.
Okay, if you ever met an animal in the wild and they get really still, you're like, oh, I'm about to be eaten or killed. She has adopted the stillness of the animals she lives
I
in.
love her.
Okay, do you want to see
She deserves her own exhibit
5'9"
at this
Jonah
place.
Abraham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, literally every day somebody's saying, get your fucking haircut.
right.
Oh, he
All
kind of looks
right.
like Shia LaBeouf if
He's a
someone
man-
took his head and just.
He
He's
looks
a
like a
Jew.
person who
He's-
says, have you seen my friend's vape?
Yeah, yeah.
He is. He's always looking for someone's vape.
I love it, man. This is.
There it is.
Do you want them to start dating or no?
Je-
No.
No, she can do better.
Jess
Yeah.
said
She can do way better.
what happened didn't really hit her until after everything settled down. And Katie Hogan said the zoo is trying to come to terms with the incident, which she said was a little amusing but also terrifying.
Well, the incident being
How
how
did
we
this
so
guy get
susceptible
in?
to someone climbing a fence
Right.
and getting into our
Right.
Jonah Abraham has been charged with burglary of an unoccupied dwelling and held on a $10,000.
There's no way he's looking for a vape. He's like trying to steal a penguin. Am I right? He's like, I'm going to walk out of here with at least one.
I want a pet
I want a
penguin.
penguin.
Yeah.
I'm walking out of here. We're going to
But
put
like,
it in the
I
bathtub.
kind of get that. Like, wouldn't it be sweet if you had a penguin here?
No.
I think it would be fun to have a
No,
penguin.
they'd
in
be
it.
fucking miserable. They
They would
like
be
it
miserable.
cold.
They do.
They do like it.
All right, that's story 2, guys.
There you go.
We have
Story
one more
2
left.
down in the
It's
books.
bad enough that there's we didn't decide there are penguins at this Florida zoo.
We have no clue what's there.
You're like, it's bad enough that we're assuming that there are penguins in this zoo.
Let alone.
like it's hot there.
I know. Do you give
It's
me
a Florida zoo, so it might just be like some stray cats and a cow.
All right.
It's alligators.
Yeah, it's definitely alligators.
Give me a little taste of what we have in the next segment.
A woman thinks she got bad Chinese food and could not have been more wrong.
Okay. All right. That's it. All right. We got one
It
more
was
segment.
good Chinese.
It's good. It cuts to my favorite, one of my favorite Gary Shandling jokes. And we'll talk about this on the next side. You have to wait through the break in order to hear it. This is Dumb People Town. Sarah Silverman's with us. We'll be right back.
Hey there, Adam Conover here. Humans Who Make Games is my podcast where I sit down with the people who created some of your favorite video games and have the kind of long-form personal conversation we so rarely get to hear. We talk about how they got into the industry, what their favorite games were growing up, and what it's like working in the trenches of this century's greatest new art form. This season, we've got a whole batch of new interviews for you. I talked to Kim Swift from Portal, Alex Preston from Hyperlight Drifter, Anna McGill from Control, and Alex Beecham from the game Outer Wilds. Whether you love video games or you just love learning more about other artists' creative process, I can guarantee you're going to love this podcast. So, you can get Season 2 of Humans Who Make Games wherever you get your podcasts. Take a listen.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Do the Gary Shandling joke.
It's my favorite.
Because Zach also had a brilliant. What was his
I don't know what his
fortune
was,
cookie joke?
but Gary Shandling's joke was I had Chinese food and finished up, and they brought me my fortune cookie. I opened it up, and it said, "I peed in your rice." And
Already hilarious.
Already hilarious. And then he's like, "Should these be handwritten?" I want to talk about how great you were in the Shandling documentary. I mean, you were so real and so
I was so closed off. And,
You feel
I mean,
like-
I'm not watching it, but I just remembering that day, I was.
Really?
And
I thought
still
you were
have
so
not
present.
fully dealt. Like,
Oh yeah.
no, I just was like,
Were you on the basketball court being interviewed
Yeah.
there?
Yes, there
Yeah.
at the basketball court. I mean, he was so important for us. We didn't really know him as well as certainly you or other
he gave
people.
me that. mirror.
Did he really?
And the table that's outside. There was a point when all the furniture in my apartment was like his old furniture.
He loved mentoring people, and he loved connecting with younger comics, and he loved I feel like it was weird. It was weird in the thing to see how much he didn't really love the Comedy Store as like a place compared to how he loved the camaraderie of comedians so much.
Right.
Like he loved
that was
that.
the basketball
Because
game.
when he was doing stand-up, starting out, I don't think he hung out.
He didn't like the hangout, and he also didn't like the competitive nature. But to see him and Jerry Seinfeld just sitting and talking,
That was
I could have watched
amazing.
that for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Just their love and then their riffing.
Well, because there's all of that from the documentary, which
Comedian.
was rough footage from comedians and cars getting coffee, but that's an
Right, but even
amazing
just
one.
thinking about him saying, remember when we would walk in Central Park and just talk about comedy? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we do all the time.
No, they would walk because
they were walking
Seinfeld
here.
was stage 10 and
right,
Sanders
they walk
was
on
stage
Radford.
9.
They were next door to
Yeah,
each other because I
CBS
remember
Radford.
visiting. Yeah, they were right next door to each other.
I had
It's
Wayne
Radford.
Fetterman on my other podcast, Hindsight, yesterday, and he talked when him and Judd they talked to Jerry about getting the old footage. Jerry's like, we probably don't have much there for you, and then they went and watched. And were like, everything's
everything.
right here. Are you
Yeah, it's
crazy,
amazing.
man? Between the comedians and cars getting coffee, and then doing that
Comedy
show that
Magic.
night,
Comedy Magic show.
Because I was watching it, being like, who is Phil? I hadn't put together yet that it was comedian. I've watched Comedian again since, which I highly recommend. If you watched it before you started doing comedy like I did, go back and watch it as a comic now and be like, holy shit.
Wait, if you watched what?
Comedian.
If you watched Comedian, the documentary,
Seinfeld's
the
documentary.
Yeah.
Comedian.
You
Yeah.
watched that?
Of
did
course.
you?
Yeah.
I watched it before I started doing comedy, and then watching it again, I was like, because Orny Adams scared the shit out of me. I was
Isn't
like,
that so funny?
Yeah.
I know.
Orny played in the basketball game for a long time, and people have problems with him. He's a troublemaker, but to me, I always found it very amusing.
Yeah, he's always
still
been great
working,
to us.
and he still does
Always
his
I
been-
find him very amazing.
Always been great to us.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, he pokes, he talks trash on the basketball court, but I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Hilarious.
But
That's
he really
you.
got people's goats.
Did he really? Even in the basketball game? Anyway, it just was really, again, it reminded me what a huge influence Shandling was on us. Shandling and Letterman, those two, because of what they did to take their forms and be like, this is how you twist it and make it different. I feel like they were doing alt comedy with their formats.
Yeah.
In the biggest way possible.
But how about that dark moment in the documentary when he's at Larry Sanders and he's just at the end of his rope and miserable, and he goes, he says something like, "This is awful. I hate this. I
When
hate
he's walking
life."
down the
Letterman,
hallway.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Letterman's right. His attitude's right."
I know, man. But
right.
yeah, look, he was in the midst of it and also trying to make a show that he ultimately achieved his goal. Larry
But
Sanders
also that was the most real thing ever, truthful stuff from his life, in that you're like, what is your life and what is a script for this show? What are you playing out in this show that's actually from your life? It must have been super painful just to do that show. The show was him.
Yeah,
In so many ways.
Yeah, I think it took everything out of
But to
him.
hear Leno say, "Yeah, whatever, my show. Who wants to see? You'll want to look at my show." Just to see what this Drew Barrymore looked like when she was this age. But Larry Sanders, stands the test of time.
Yeah.
He wound up choosing to do a show. That was the show that he could
Well,
do.
the thing is, all these people stole the concept of Larry Sanders after that. They're all these behind, but they stole the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They stole the this must be successful because it's behind the scenes of a thing. But no, it was about truth.
Right.
That's what made it amazing.
People, everybody being afraid of something.
Yeah, and humanity.
Yeah.
Right. Or as Reggie, who's an old friend of ours, would say, it's the triangle. It's Hank and Artie and Larry. And it was,
by
and
the
you
way-
think about the triangle, which Reggie then
and
did.
brought to 30 Rock, which was Tina and,
Wow.
It's a triangle of
It's
characters.
a triangle between
And
Tina
Alec
and
Baldwin.
Tracy and Alec Baldwin. I
Yeah.
mean, that was the triangle. It was almost like, if you want to talk about it in a basketball sense,
It's
Phil
like-
Jackson took a triangle from
Off.
Chicago and then brought it over to
LA.
the Lakers. Same principle.
Whoa.
Kind of cool. See?
Pretty cool.
You want to do a third story?
Yeah,
Let's do a third story.
Wait, Was Phil Jackson the coach of the Bulls during?
Yeah.
Michael
championships
Jordan,
in a
yes. Yes.
Yeah, during like Jordan, Pippen,
Yes.
Dennis
And six.
Rodman.
All
Six.
six
And
were
a
him.
crazy
I
thing.
mean, that was like the Bulls were America's team then.
In
Oh,
many
yeah,
ways.
you with 6 championships in 8 years.
I mean, watching them was like watching. It made me understand why maybe people like ballet because I never understood that. But it was like,
Yeah.
it was just like dance.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they were so good. And
Unbelievable.
They
Because
were
there
so-
was never anyone. I mean, you could argue that Jordan was Dr. J-esque, but he just took over. in
I
a
was
different
trying to
way.
explain to my daughter why LeBron is so good and why Jordan was so great. I'm like, and if they played each other, I was trying to explain it because we were watching like the Cavs play, and I'm like, LeBron is so good. I'm like, this is how good LeBron is. He's 6'8", 260 pounds. If LeBron put football pads on and played tight end, he would be the best tight end in the NFL. And he's never played football. I don't think he's ever played football.
Right.
I'm like, he's just this specimen. Now, Jordan was smaller. Jordan was 6'6",
Yep.
but like smaller. But like, Jordan was the perfect size to do everything.
Everything.
He could play defense on your best guard. He could turn around and jump, and his
Back
fadeaway
down
jumper.
anybody.
He can back anyone in, and his fadeaway jumper could not be blocked. He could go above the rim with incredible hops. Like he was just
Yeah, but I would say
perfect.
like the difference between like Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman, just like if you look at Gary, it's like they're both gifted.
Yeah.
But then Michael Jordan didn't stop there. He would stay late and practice his fucking free throw shot as a
He was-
professional basketball
he had the
player.
drive. He had
and
the
he
drive.
was constantly trying to
Win. He
be
wanted to
better, or just to be better and get the mechanics and like turn it into muscle memory so that he can transcend like the.
To go back to the documentary, that was a crazy moment for me in the first part of the documentary where Jay Leno talks about, he goes, I wanted to do the Tonight Show because it had to end every day at 4. You put your pencils down, we go to a show.
Yep.
And if I did a once-a-week show, I would drive myself insane 24 hours a day. And that's what Gary did because he was like, it has to, I can make this better. There's got to be a tighter way
beat
to
it.
tell this
We
joke.
can
Did you
do
this
feel
story,
that when you
whatever.
were on the
And he
show?
was
People are
it was
like, we
just-
can beat this joke. We
He's
can
like, that's
beat this.
harder. Once a week is harder than every day because you just.
Yeah, because you can obsess about it.
Yeah, I did sense it just from being friends with Gary that it was like the things he loved and were most important to him were also like his albatrosses, you know, like that, talking about his house, which is like the loveliest, most wonderful house in the world. And they were like this like beautiful house in, you know, like on a
cliff overlooking the ocean.
overlooking the
Yeah.
ocean. It was Gary's albatross.
Albatross,
Like
yeah,
in
that
a
was
lot of
Kevin
ways,
Nealon,
this
yeah.
incredible show as well. But as an actor on it, it was joyful for
course,
me
of course.
because here he is. He's like, the writing was so important and had to be so real and organic, and the dynamics had to be natural. And like he put so much on the writing, but then he'd give you this incredible script and say,
Do
whatever your line is, I don't care if you say pineapple, just as long as you're getting the idea of the line across. So to like write these masterpieces with the greatest writers and then throw it all away to make sure that everything is natural and organic is like brave and
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
You want to do a third story?
Let's do the last story.
Okay, here we go.
Because I could talk about this forever.
Yeah,
with
me
you.
too. Sent in by Andrea Schuster at Chops Mom. Thank you, Andrea.
Is Chops a person?
Crystal Gale.
Okay.
Oh, the
I love
long,
her.
beautiful hair.
Her long, beautiful
Crystal
hair.
Gale Amerson.
Also, I was going to say, you know, Crystal Gale had that long hair, but she must have been so beholden to the long hair thing.
It became her
She must have
parent.
felt like if I cut my hair short, I'm a nobody.
I'm out of here.
But she can't think like that.
Same with Peggy Fleming.
Crystal Gale
reverse.
Emerson.
Not Peggy
No,
Fleming.
no, but
Dorothy Hamill.
Dorothy
Hamill.
Hamill. No,
Reverse.
but
We got
my
that.
son will
Peggy
only wear
Fleming had a
short.
weird thing where she thought her hair was too short.
My son only wears shorts to school, even when it's like 42 degrees when it's time to go to school.
And
Your
because
son is
he's
Kevin
he's
Smith.
the shorts guy.
I asked
Kevin
him.
Smith.
I said, "Why do you wear shorts?" And he's like, "Because my friends know me as the shorts guy." I'm like, "If your friends know you only as the shorts guy, then they're not your friends."
And you're not doing enough to let them know who you really are.
Come on, he's like, "I'm the guy who wears shorts." I'm like,
That-
"No,
don't-
there's
don't
more
let
to it
that-
than that."
don't let that be
Don't be
can't
that
your-
guy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story of another man who wore the same thing all the time. His name was Ernest. and he went to camp. Then he went to
Jim-
fireman's school.
Jim Varney.
Jim
Yeah,
Varney.
so talking
Oh,
about
okay,
Jim
Jim
Varney.
And then he was a voice in Toy Story, Dan. He did all right.
I actually found him funny.
And then he
Oh,
died.
I love the Ernest movies. Ernest
Yeah.
Halloween was
I
great.
mean, people don't really, because what I loved about him is that he was really honest.
He was very earnest. All right.
And he
my
loved
God.
his friend Vern.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Hey, Vern.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Vern.
We don't have many people like
I'd
that
love to
in our
see a
pop
Vern
culture
movie.
anymore. Wouldn't that be great?
It's
Shoot it from the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would
That
be
would be
phenomenal.
amazing.
And it would star like Vern and like the guy on the other side of the fence from the Tim Allen
Wilson.
show.
Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in.
Is there any other secret
Vera, Norm's
Carlton.
wife.
Yep.
Carlton, the
voice.
doorman.
Carl Lorenzo
And
Music.
the guy's mom from WKRP, she owned the station and
Oh,
never
yeah.
showed up all the time.
Gordon
he was always,
Jump. Gordon
he was
Jump's
so
mom.
afraid of her.
Oh wow! Oh, and Maris.
Yes, yes.
From
Frasier.
From Frasier.
Yeah.
It's
I want to have a
do
mystery
that
person
movie.
in my life.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Crystal Gail Amerson said she woke up around 4 a.m. Sunday with stomach pains that had her running back and forth between the bathroom and the bedroom for more than an hour. I had Chinese food that night before, and I kind of figured maybe I had food poisoning or something like that. But it turned out there was nothing wrong with the General Tso's chicken that Amerson ate the previous night.
Is it General Tao or General Sao?
Tsao.
So,
Unbeknownst to her,
Wait, is this the part where we get to tell the joke that we wrote the tag for?
Really doesn't hold up. Oh, I mean that whole special's so
way.
racist. It's
so
so
racist.
liberal, bubble, well-meaning, ignorant racist.
It doesn't hold up. It doesn't
unbeknownst
hold
to
up.
her,
But it was something about pee in my Coke.
It was a Chinese.
Oh, and the tag you gave me was brilliant.
You said I had a Chinese friend who said me Chinese, me play joke.
Me make pee in your Coke. And your response was, well, if you have to explain.
Our joke was
Your tag.
was-
I don't know what the
our-
joke part of my joke was.
Our
but
tag
anyway.
was if you have to explain it.
It's
It's
not
not funny.
It's not fun.
Yeah, which is excellent. Breaking down such a base
Dumb joke.
there
dumb.
was nothing wrong with the General Tso's chicken that Crystal Gail ate the previous night. Unbeknownst to her, she was actually 37 weeks pregnant and on the verge of giving birth to her second son.
What?
So she's been pregnant before. She does not know she's pregnant
There's
for
a whole show about it.
37 weeks.
There's a whole show about it. called
Thinks that she
Unknown.
had bad Chinese food and is like, I am going to the bathroom
Every-
again.
Wow.
Hold on. 4 goes into 37. Not she's fully giving birth.
She's brought this
9
baby
months.
to term.
But why is a birth giving her diarrhea?
I don't know. Does she feel like she has to
Maybe
go to the
she
bathroom,
broke.
but
Maybe she
isn't?
broke her water. I mean, what happens is when the baby's pushing down, it does feel like you're
Maybe like
you
she
have to
feels like,
shit.
man, I'm peeing
And-
out of
and-
my ass.
and-
And really, it's just the water
and the
coming out.
water is coming, and that's what happens. It does
The
feel
water
like
comes out of your
the
asshole.
water
I
doesn't come out of
never
your
knew that.
asshole. The water does not come out of your asshole, but the baby, the
Jason said it
position of
twice
the
for me
baby
and you to
pushing
really-
down feels like you have to take a shit. That's what it feels
So
like.
there is a bearing.
So she's
down.
like, I
So it's a
cannot
combo of
get
like
this.
releasing stuff, water, which is not diarrhea,
By the
but
way, yeah.
And she's like, it literally feels like the Chinese food is kicking me.
It's like the Chinese. It feels like I have like a tiny General
I
Tso
mean,
in my
everything
stomach.
I've been eating for the past, I'd say like 2 to 3 trimesters of a year.
I section off my year in trimesters.
I just feel like I'm getting kicked around down there.
Now, was she just not showing? Is she perhaps
tell you all.
overweight a bit?
Crystal Gail Emerson called off work at 5 a.m. An hour. Imagine that. Guys, I'm not coming in.
turns out
An
I'm
hour
pregnant.
later, as the pain worsened, she woke up her fiance because they needed to call an ambulance. The stomach pains were just excruciating, and I could hardly move.
Oh,
you do
my
not have food poisoning.
No.
Food poisoning, it's coming out, for the record, for people.
yeah.
It doesn't stay in.
Maybe the food poisoning, was
I think it was about 6:30 a.m. when the ambulance got there. It escalated so quickly, which again could be a great T-shirt for dumb people.
It
Time.
escalated.
It is so
escalated
quickly.
so quickly that I was having contractions, and we figured out kind of what was going on because at first we didn't really know what was going on.
I will say this:
Horrible writing.
when my wife, when we eat Chinese food, if it affects her in a negative way, I will ask her how dilated she is.
Oh, that's good. of you. Do you look?
Let me see how many fingers we can get.
How many centimeters, hon?
She said, they say, how is it possible that Crystal Gail Emerson, did not realize she was pregnant? Crystal had already been through one pregnancy, but said she was never the type to feel a lot of the symptoms typically aligned with pregnancy, such as morning sickness. She also said she didn't notice much weight gain.
Wow.
I gained a little bit of weight, but I think my first baby I didn't really notice either. That's your second being time pregnant. You didn't know you were pregnant?
Yeah.
I never gained the pregnancy shape, really, and I wear scrubs to work because I work at a retirement home for Alzheimer's and dementia patients.
Wow.
And I typically don't get my period for like 9 or 10 months.
Some
at a
women
time,
don't,
so
man.
some
So
women
and
don't.
if she's using a contraception that doesn't get her period regularly, she
Well,
thinks it's
I'm
working.
on that. I'm on the pill where I get my period like 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
For like 8 minutes. And
Do you
but
ever-
if I got pregnant, like wouldn't the pill I take every night murder my baby?
Probably.
Isn't that the point?
Yeah, that is the
A
point.
little bit.
It's a lot of Plan Bs. I don't have no
Yeah,
idea.
Plan B is like a whole mess of
The pill.
birth control
Right.
birth
That's
control
right.
pill.
That's
like-
Right.
She said since she works and wears scrubs, she never really noticed. So I guess the
That's
way
why they say don't wear sweatpants to wear them. You cannot tell if you're gaining weight.
she was
if
dressing
you're-
for the
if
baby
you're-
she didn't know she wanted.
Yeah.
So I guess the way they fit me as well, it was hard to notice or tell anything.
That's your first fashion plea. Don't dress for the baby you didn't know.
But
you
also,
really
like,
wanted.
God bless that she's had 2 pregnancies
That
go
were
so
so
smoothly,
easy. Exactly.
so easy.
She didn't even know what was happening.
She didn't have morning
Yeah.
sickness for
How
months and months
great.
and months.
She had a little bit of evening sickness.
I mean, there might be a little like lack of mind-body connection there.
I would agree.
Maybe.
Dr. Julius de Cesar, an obstetrician gynecologist with the Sacred Heart Hospital, said it is possible for a woman to learn of her pregnancy just hours before going into labor, but in her 20 years of practice, she's only witnessed it 3 times.
Is Julius de Cesar the dog whisperer?
Still a lot.
The baby whisperer.
No, the dog whisperer. Do you know him, Julius? No.
No,
the dog
what's his
whisperer.
name? Caesar Milan.
Yeah.
Great name. I mean, you were destined for greatness.
But
That's your name.
Didn't he get a divorce?
I don't. Come on. Where are you going? Get to your thing. Go all the
Wait,
way
I don't
for it.
get
He's,
Like,
he's
what?
gearing up for
Marriages
he's-
don't all work. We live longer now.
Right.
He
But
Here, go.
couldn't
Go.
keep it that.
oh, come on. No.
Oh, it's a
At
fun
Sklar
word
Brothers.
play.
No, but
show.
didn't he also? But he was like abusive and not in a good way.
we go.
I mean,
How
not
do you
that you could
turn
be
that
abusive
off?
in a good
Is
way.
what I'm saying. How do you
Well,
turn
I
off
think
the
there are
communication?
people. Listen, I had a boyfriend who I needed more physical touch from him. Like besides sex, I like sex was good, but in
Hugging.
between,
It's a love
Holding
language.
hands.
It's a
Like, you know,
big
warm.
love
reach out,
language.
put your arm around me,
Connection,
give me
yeah.
a little like a
Affection.
touch on the tush, anything.
Yeah.
Like just it means that's my love language is
Touch on the
physical.
tush.
Totally.
And he had a hard time with it, and yet he would get on the floor with my dog and kiss her belly and tickle her belly and rub her
That must have
belly.
pissed you off so
And
much.
I just
Not
said
pissed you off, but it might have
no,
hurt.
but I just said that's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're able to give sometimes more to an animal, more to someone that we don't project our own things we don't like about ourselves, perhaps. onto.
And we don't have a fear of the feedback.
the
There's no
dog's not
fear
go-
of
dog's not gonna
rejection from
judge you.
loving a
Your
dog.
relationship with your dog is a way simpler.
There's a
Yeah.
there's a very recent This American Life that opens with that. These women live-in girlfriends, and the woman could not show any affection to her girlfriend, but she would be so loving to their cat.
Yes.
And the woman said some mornings it started to really be a problem. She'd wake up and she'd hear, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I love you so much." And she would, in her waking up, would be like,
Oh, she's saying it to
telling
me.
That's so
and then
nice.
she would realize she's saying it to the cat. And then
Isn't
she
that
started to resent
interesting?
the cat. Of
course you do.
You're
Of course you
taking
do.
the love. That is a very real thing. But I think also there's no.
If you're
I think on a human basis, people get
I'm gonna
afraid of
walk out of
rejection,
this-
and
I'm
whatever that
walking out of
fear
this
is
apartment
touch
right
or
now.
whatever. What is it?
in a relationship with 2 women, you
Just at Sklar Brothers. Don't even finish.
Don't
it.
even look at him. Don't even give it to him. It's not
cannot-
going to be funny.
You cannot resent the pussy.
And he's out.
At
because
Sklar
it's a
Brothers.
cat.
Yeah, it's
You had
another
a dog
wordplay.
joke with because bitch
Bitch
is
is
a
a
dog
dog.
and
No.
then cat is a
I was
pussy.
trying to
She didn't
bookend
laugh at
it.
either of them.
I mean,
She didn't laugh
Try
at
to
either
you
of
are
them.
an amazing comedian.
The higher the compliment.
The worse
less
I feel. The worse I feel.
No,
One
you
of
had
the best.
listen,
We had a good run, and now we need to get out of comedy.
it was really good wordplay that you can't. That in the moment, is too good. You were properly ashamed of
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
I walked out
But you had to say it.
You had
Yeah,
to. It's
sometimes
there.
you gotta
It's
get
too
it
there.
out. You got to get it
At 6:59 a.m. Sunday.
like a baby that I didn't know I had. I had to get it out.
That's right.
At 6:59 a.m. Sunday, Oliver James, OJ, was born in the back of an ambulance a short way from the home of Crystal Gale and her fiance Brian.
Born in the back of a Bronco, driving slowly down
Low
the
speed
street.
chase. Low speed chase to the hospital.
Crystal said the EMT who helped deliver OJ had never delivered a baby solo before, so there were a lot of firsts that morning. Do you want the guy telling you that beforehand? No.
No.
No,
Ma'am,
Tom, you have all the experience.
Never
in the
done
world.
this by myself before. Let's go.
Ma'am, I am scared out of my mind.
So she's really far along, like
yeah, this baby is coming out.
coming out at her house.
By the way, thank God an ambulance is there. Thank God a person
Sure.
is there. That's wonderful.
As for the Chinese food, Great China on West 9 Mile Road.
Well,
won't-
on West Nile Virus Road.
Yep. On West 9 Mile Road, won't be receiving a negative Yelp review. It was a false alarm, Great China. You're good. I don't know if that's a quote or what the reporter is just writing to this restaurant, assuming they're going to read
What
it.
if that was her Yelp review of the thing?
1 star. I had a baby, an unplanned baby.
I had a baby
after
I didn't
eating
know
there.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. The other way. Well, if you like, where they list the negative, if you're someone who likes having a baby, eat at Great Wall China.
Yeah.
Or someone saying to her, "Don't have a baby." It was good, like don't have a baby
Over
it.
about how bad this Chinese
food
is.
was, and she couldn't help it.
Regardless.
She wound up having a
I
baby.
had a baby.
About it.
Crystal Gale
I had a baby
said,
about it.
Crystal Gale said she thinks she'll lay off Chinese food for a while.
Why?
That makes no
Why?
sense.
That
Well,
to me doesn't make any sense.
It's weird because usually, when you get sick after eating something, you can't eat it for a while. I
Even
had
if that
with
wasn't how you
stir-fry.
got you sick,
Yes.
you
Even
just
if
make
your
that
brain-
because
association.
there's a
association.
sensory.
Yeah.
But to me,
memory.
there is, when I am eating without a care in the world, there are a few things better than ordering every type of Chinese food that I want. Takeout, boxes open. There's like egg rolls, fried rice. That is the best gorge myself food.
It's so weird because I'm not I'm
Veggie.
a bad Jew. I hate Chinese food.
Even tofu? You'll eat tofu. Right?
I don't like Chinese food, but like once a year, I crave it.
Really?
And I think we're getting
Christmas.
around that time.
Oh, really?
Nice.
This time?
Yeah,
You're
I don't know
pregnant.
why it is. I
crave-
never want it. Anytime I've been forced to kind of have it, it's just like syrupy and heavy, and like it's not satisfying. It doesn't feel like nourishment.
No, it's not.
But
definitely not
the
that.
scrambled eggy vegetable fried rice
Oh
is
my
yummy,
God.
and I love
You've
fortune
limited
cookies
the
all
amount
day.
of times you crave Chinese food and the amount of times you have a period to times you can count on one hand a year.
A
That's
year.
right.
Both.
And I know
that was her
I know
goal.
that was a goal of yours for a long time. So
Good job.
congratulations.
And they both have egg drops.
I mean,
walkouts.
Sarah, I don't know if you should talk on mic
Sarah,
again.
Sarah,
I dropped my
Sarah
mic, but it was
Silverman.
on
That's
like
Sarah
a
K. Silverman.
big wound thing of
It was kind
wire,
of a
so it didn't
soft
make any
drop.
noise.
A little soft drop.
It's a great.
Regardless, Crystal Gale says she'll stay off Chinese food for a while. Quote, "That's what I was telling my mother-in-law." They're not married yet. "I think I'm traumatized from Chinese food," Crystal said. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at it the same way again."
Why would? Okay.
Yep, just accept it.
Traumatized by Chinese food because
Fine.
obviously it makes you
Pregnant.
have a baby in minutes.
Makes you 8 months pregnant.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah,
Right.
nine,
Cause
fully
9
months.
Fully
Yeah.
9. She was 9 months.
30.
Fully
37
37 weeks.
weeks.
36
Oh,
is
my
carrying it to term.
Lord.
There
That's
you go.
3 stories, guys.
There's
That's
a
3
show.
stories. That's a show. What can we tell people to watch and look at yours? Definitely check out the Hulu show.
I Love You America on Hulu.
So good.
And then we'll have more starting September.
September.
If we're all
Sweet.
still here and the
We
end
will
of days
all-
didn't have.
Am I crazy about a Wreck-It Ralph too?
Oh my God, there's a Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's coming in Thanksgiving. It's better than
Really?
My
the
kid,
first
by the
one.
way, that's like my
It's
kid's favorite
so
show.
My
good.
The only
my
thing
kids
I really
love you
wanna
so
know-
much in it. It's
Oh.
ridiculous.
The only thing I really want to know: have you been into like the private club at Disneyland?
Is there a Wreck-It Ralph private club? at
No,
Disney?
they're just
No.
you know
Pixar?
she's
Oh, it's
yeah
Pixar,
she's
yeah.
a star.
Oh,
She's
the
like one
Club
of the best things-
33?
Yeah, that's or
We've
whatever.
been there.
Really?
Yeah, it's
I've
just like
never
a
been
big.
there.
It looks like it's like
I'm
cruise
just
ship
curious.
buffet.
Well, I can't wait to watch. I loved the first one.
First one was
I don't know
ridiculous.
if I can say anything, but I will. I'm going to say something that maybe I'll get in trouble for. But
Well, we
Sure.
can take it. Out.
Vanellope, my character, has a straight up Disney song.
Hey!
Alan Menken written straight
Song.
up.
Are you kidding me?
Song.
We
You
told
are
you
going to
could
be in We
sing.
Are the World too.
We
but
are
I
gonna
can
be in
sing
Wheel.
as her.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
but
great.
that's
It's
great.
perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
perfect.
awesome,
Oh,
Sarah.
I can't even believe it.
Sarah.
Can you believe it?
No,
I'm a
genuinely,
Disney princess.
I'm genuinely.
No, a Pixar princess is even bigger than a Disney princess.
It's Disney,
I
isn't
know,
it?
Yeah, no,
but
it is.
But
You're
Disney
both.
owns Pixar, but it's
Disney
It's
like,
a
also
con-
does
it's both.
other things. Like Pixar is
Pixar's like the top
Not- it's
level.
top of the
like you're talking to people who watch tons of kids movies.
Right.
There is like kids movies, and then there are the Pixar movies.
I'm so
that
excited for you.
Pixar's are like family
It's
movies.
it's really good. I mean, from what I can tell, like it's
so fun to do.
I love
That's
it.
great.
All right,
that's
great
awesome.
news. All
So
right,
that's all
look for that
coming.
in the future.
God, I love it. Love hanging out with you.
Thanks
love
for having
hanging out
us.
with you.
Thank you for doing
Let's
this.
do
with
it
us.
more.
I'm so hungry. You guys, I have so much food in my refrigerator.
You got any Chinese food?
Let's eat
I
something.
don't. I almost like I have that 1 year craving.
Do you have good
love
drinks?
Yeah. Oh my God. This is what I do every single time. I forget to offer even fucking water to
I
my
thought about
guests.
it a lot.
I was fine.
And then
but
you
I-
go to
but now
leave,
you
and I
said
go,
it.
oh
Take
shit.
one for the road.
I thought like maybe I'll cough a couple more times, but
I'll have
God,
a.
Sarah,
look
I'm
at all the
joking.
water I have.
I
I'll
know
have
you
a
have
drink
so
for a
much.
second. All right, that's
should
show.
we do it? Tell them.
We got to get back to work.
Oh shit, we got to get back to work.
It's a good show.